He undressed me with care, almost as if he didn't want to rush, making each minute feel longer. He pierced my breast with his hand, and my body immediately got aroused. Then he took my hand and gently guided me to the bed, where the night was just starting. He carefully lay me on the bed, his gaze never leaving mine. He slowly spread my legs, taking care to ensure my comfort. As he stripped, I could feel my body tensing in anticipation of what was going to happen. My pulse was beating, and I realized there was no turning back now. One day, I was at work. I work as a secretary. The workplace was as bustling as usual. Phones ringing, people conversing, and papers strewn around. I had been working for the firm for more than 5 years. Every day, I arrived early, sorted files, answered calls, and assisted my employer, Mr. Garrison, with anything he required. I was usually on time and worked hard in the hopes of being promoted someday. However, getting promoted in this firm was not simple. Even though I was usually working late, assisting others, and giving my all, someone else always earned the promotion before me. I did not understand why. I'd been there longer and knew the work well, yet it seemed like I was being disregarded. I was frustrated, but I kept reminding myself that my time will come, and it appeared that my big chance had finally arrived. There was a vacant position that I had been dreaming of for years. It was a step up from my previous position, and I was confident I was competent. I had put in the effort, remained devoted, and done everything correctly. Everyone in the office knew how hard I worked, but there was something standing in my path. My supervisor is Mr. Garrison. Mr. Garrison was 40 years old, always dressed smartly in suits, with a silky voice and a confident demeanor. He was the type of person that got everyone's attention, and he was aware of it. There was something about him that made you believe he had power, not simply because he was the boss, but also because he had unfathomable power in the room. At first, I didn't pay much attention to how he interacted with me. He was often saying things like, "Jane, you're the best secretary I've ever had," or "Jane, I don't know what I'd do without you." These were wonderful comments, and I enjoyed them, but I quickly realized that his gaze remained on me a little longer than it did on everybody else. He would find reasons to come over to my desk more frequently, asking me for tasks he could easily complete himself. His taps on my shoulder as he passed by got more regular, making me uncomfortable, but I didn't know what to say. After a particularly stressful day in which everything seemed to go wrong, Mr. Garrison summoned me to his office. My heart raced in my chest. I wasn't sure if I was scared about anything I had done wrong or delighted, since I assumed this was the time he would tell me I had been promoted. When I entered his office, he was standing at the window, staring out at the busy streets below. He turned around, smiled, and ordered me to sit down. "Jane," he said, "you've been working really hard, and I've noticed. You've been here longer than the majority of the workforce, and I believe it's time we talked about your future with the firm." My heart leaped. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. However, something about his tone made me hesitate. He gazed at me in a way that went beyond professionalism. I tried to ignore my feelings and focus on what he was saying. He added, "You know, Jane," his voice was soft, "it is not enough to work hard in this business. It's about connections, not the individuals you may imagine," he explained, leaning forward on his desk and his gaze fixated on mine. But sometimes going successful requires understanding how things function and knowing when to be adaptable. There was a silence, and I could feel the tension build in the room. I had no idea what to say, so I simply sat there quietly, hoping he would get to the point. He rose up and moved around the desk, getting closer to where I was seated. My heart quickened as he came closer. "You see, Jane," he began quietly, now standing alongside me, I can help you obtain that promotion, but I need to know whether you're prepared to make some sacrifices." His hand lightly brushed my shoulder, and I froze. I finally understood what he was saying. This was not about my hard work or ability. He wanted something extra from me, which I was unwilling to provide. I felt a knot in my throat, and my palms began to sweat. "Are you prepared to do whatever it takes to advance?" he inquired, his voice barely above a whisper now. His fingers moved down my arm, and I realized I needed to make a decision. My thoughts raced as I remembered how many times I had worked late and how much effort I had put in, only for it to get to this. Was this truly the price I had to pay for success? I took a big breath and said, "Sir, what kind of sacrifices are you talking about?" Mr. Garrison grinned and leaned in slightly closer. "It's not much, Jane," he remarked softly and smoothly. "You see, you are not just another secretary to me. You're different, special. I have always admired you. Not only your work, but you are beautiful. Your body." His gaze fixed on me in a manner that made my skin crawl. We could investigate something more personal. "Just between us," he added, "and in exchange, you will receive the promotion you deserve." My heart hammered, and I had the sensation that the entire room was spinning. I couldn't believe all he was saying. This was not about my abilities, hard work, or how much I had given up to reach where I was. All Mr. Garrison cared about was my appearance. He asked me for anything unrelated to the job, and he was promising me a promotion in return. I felt a chill run down my spine. My thoughts raced as I reflected on all the years I had invested in this firm, all the late nights and additional hours I had worked. Is this what it has come to? Was this the only path to success? He drew closer, his smile widening. "Jane," he murmured, "you are not married," and I couldn't wake up. I had worked so hard to prove myself, to demonstrate that I was worthy of more responsibilities. But instead, I was reduced to an object that he could utilize. I looked down at my hands, which shook slightly. I knew I needed to make a decision, and it wouldn't be easy. The promotion was all I had hoped for in years. But now I understood the price, and it wasn't something I was willing to pay. I eventually stood up and pushed my chair back. My legs felt weak, but I was able to keep myself stable. "Mr. Garrison," I started, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not that type of person. I worked hard for my career and earned all I have. If you are giving me a promotion for reasons other than my job, I decline." He sat back in his chair and moaned, "You're not prepared for the promotion, Jane. You're unwilling to take any chances. There is nothing risky about what I am asking. You are young, you are not married, and if you answer yes, you will advance quickly in your job. Jane, this is an opportunity, a fast cut to success." His words rang in my thoughts, and the pressure began to rise. He continued talking, his voice smooth and persuasive, telling me everything I wanted to hear. "Think about that, Jane," he added quietly. "One tiny decision may affect your life forever. You'll be in a better position to earn more. Everyone respects them. Isn't this what you've been striving towards?" I gazed at the floor, hesitant. I knew deep down that what he was asking was incorrect, but his statements caused me to doubt myself. Perhaps this was simply how the world operated. Perhaps everyone has to make such sacrifices to go ahead. He grinned when he observed my uncertainty. "You deserve this, Jane," he continued. "However, sometimes we must do difficult things in order to achieve our goals. Believe me, no one will ever know. It'll be our little secret, and you'll be rewarded for your bravery." I bit my lip, feeling constrained. Every part of me wanted to run and shout no, but his words were like a net slowly drawing me in. "You're intelligent, gorgeous, and have a promising future ahead of you. This is just one step, a small favor, and you will be where you have always desired to be." I could feel my heart racing. He made it sound so simple, as if it wasn't a huge problem at all. The terror I felt before began to disappear, replaced by the prospect of what I may gain. A greater position, increased respect, and more money. Everything looked so near, only one decision away. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, I gave in. I glanced up at him, my hands trembling slightly, and spoke the words I never imagined I would. "Okay," I whispered. "Yes." His smile widened, and he nodded in satisfaction. "Jane, you made a good choice. You will not regret it." As I exited his office, a knot grew in my gut. I had said yes, but deep down, I was unsure if I had made the correct decision. Everything felt incorrect, which is part of the process of surviving in this world. Even though I attempted to reassure myself, the unpleasant sensation persisted. I'd made a decision, and now I had to live with it. Later that weekend, I got a call from him. His tone was cool, almost too casual. "Jane," he said, "I've reserved a hotel room for the two of us. Meet me there tomorrow evening. Dress casually so that no one suspects anything." My heart fell as I placed the phone to my ear. I had always been a traditional lady. Someone who stayed to herself, treasured her solitude, and honored her body. Growing up, I was taught to stick to my principles, defend myself, and never allow someone take advantage of me. I never expected to find myself in this type of circumstance. Yet here I was, standing in the middle of my room, clutching the phone with quivering hands, knowing I was about to do something that contradicted all I believed in. I sat on my bed, looking blankly at the wall, trying to figure out how I'd gotten here. I had spent my entire life working hard to realize my aspirations. I believed that if I remained focused and worked hard, I would be rewarded. But it seems that none of that was enough. The only way to earn the promotion I had been striving for so long was to give up a part of myself, which I had always valued and safeguarded. As I hung up the phone, a rush of remorse swept over me. This was not who I was. I did not utilize my physique to get ahead. I did not sacrifice my dignity for success. But now, it appeared that I had no option. The notion of going to that hotel made me sick to my stomach, but so did the prospect of missing my opportunity to expose myself in ways I had never imagined, all in the sake of ascending the corporate ladder. I had always been proud of keeping my body to myself and not allowing anyone to coerce me into doing something I felt uncomfortable with. But now I was going to cross a line that I had said I would never cross. The choice weighed heavy on my chest, and I could feel tears welling up in my eyes. I knew I wasn't prepared for this, but it felt like there was no way out. It was either do what he said or let my aspirations slip away. As I prepared to meet him or watch my fantasies go away, my heart felt heavy as I prepared to see him at the hotel. I couldn't shake the idea that I was losing a piece of myself, something that no promotion or job achievement could ever compensate for. When I met him at the hotel, he hugged me tightly. I could feel his heartbeat, which made me frightened and apprehensive. "I am delighted you came, Jane," he remarked with a pleasant smile. "Thank you," I said gently, just above a whisper. He escorted me inside the modest room he had rented. It was well designed, with soft lighting and comfy chairs. "Please have a seat," he urged, nodding toward a chair by the window. I sat down and he sat across from me. For a minute, we both glanced out the window at the bustling street below. Cars passed past, and people go about their daily lives. It was weird to be here, away from the workplace, in such an unfamiliar surroundings. He interrupted the stillness. "You look great today," he murmured gently. "Thank you," I repeated, attempting to grin. Inside, I felt a range of feelings, including anxiousness, bewilderment, and a hint of panic. He gave me a drink of juice. He advised we relax and get to know one another better. I accepted the glass and nodded. "Okay," I replied gently. As we chatted, I began to feel more at ease. The chat went smoothly, and I found myself chuckling at some of his jokes. It almost felt like we were just two buddies conversing, but then he gave me a serious look. "Jane," he continued quietly, "I've always admired you. You're educated, industrious, and stunningly gorgeous." I felt my cheeks warm up. "Thank you," I responded, glancing down at my hands. He stretched out and softly took my hand. "I believe we might be really excellent together," he continued. "I can assist you achieve your goals while we enjoy one another's company." My heart began to beat quicker. I recognized what he was implying, and that made me anxious again. I don't know," I stuttered. "This is all quite sudden." He gently squeezed my hand. "There is no need to be scared," he said. "We can take it gently. I only want to make you happy." I took a long breath and tried to organize my thoughts. Part of me wanted to believe him, to think that this could be a positive thing. However, another part of me sensed that this was wrong. "Mr. Garrison," I started cautiously. "I appreciate your thoughtfulness, but I'm not convinced this is the best option for me." He seemed a little astonished. "Why not?" he asked. "You are not married, and neither am I. We can aid one another." He cautiously approached, his gaze fixed on mine, and gently placed his lips against mine in a large, deep kiss. His touch was delicate yet forceful, and his hands began to explore my body, sliding gently down. I could feel my heart beating with each passing instant. He undressed me with care, almost as if he didn't want to rush, making each minute feel longer. He pierced my breast with his hand, and my body immediately got aroused. Then he took my hand and gently guided me to the bed, where the night was just starting. He carefully lay me on the bed, his gaze never leaving mine. He slowly spread my legs, taking care to ensure my comfort. As he stripped, I could feel my body tensing in anticipation of what was going to happen. My pulse was beating, and I realized there was no turning back now.